wants to share, I'd like to hear the comments. What do you think? Do you think that there are possibilities of organizations? Okay, yeah. Okwe said that there are possibilities of organizations that actually have cordial relationship, like between the three, what do you call it? Is it people now? What should we term them? Yeah, between the three most important people in an organization. Yeah, they say everybody's important. I get that. I agree. Okay, thank you so much, Okwe, for that response, right? So, yeah, she has said she believes. Have you seen one that is a possibility? Have you heard of one? Have you seen one? Because I think one of the issues why I had to quit some organizations was because I think it wasn't like I was looking for perfection, but I was looking for at least some kind of fairness. Yeah, some kind of fairness and equality. I don't know if that's the right word to term it. Okay, Okwe says she has actually heard about it, that their organizations were actually very cool like that. Oh, I like to hear them. Maybe we'll talk about it another session of this particular program and have people actually list out organizations that are cordial, both the HR, both the management, and the employees. Okay, Okwe says she has not experienced it though. Okay. Oh, well, I don't know if I should say I have as well. Sometimes it feels like you're experiencing it at first, and then suddenly everybody starts to show their true colors. So, yeah, I would also like to experience it. I don't know if David has experienced it before or Esther. Maybe you've worked somewhere where everybody's just cordial with the HR, the employees are cordial with the HR is cordial with the management, it's just, so I have introduced this topic with us. I hope you guys can actually see my screen at the moment. So yeah, there's a controversy in every organization about who is the most important, who is the king, right? I'm still going to talk about this again subsequently. I think I will bring it up subsequently in every meeting we have, at least for a start, maybe throughout this month, right? I want to hear people's views, right? People say the employees are the greatest asset in an organization. Without them, the company will not run, and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So are the employees the king? People also say without the HR, organizations cannot function properly, at least for those of us that know the role of an HR in an organization, right? Uh, yeah, so that's another view entirely, right? I think I'll shorten that HR zone. I think I've capped it up in one. People also say without the management, the organ at the top, the CEOs, and all of them. Yeah, David, you're right. So many views. They say without them, where's the money to run the organization? Where's the money to pay the salaries of staff? And so many, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so let's look at it objectively. With all of these points I have made, who would you say is a king in the organization? Who is the true king? I mean, let's agree with all the views. Everybody's a king, right? But who would you say is the real king? The employees, the HR, or the management? Let me hear you guys comment in the chat box. I really wish you guys could talk, so we can actually ask questions like why? Why do you think that the HR is the king? But before we go to the why, let's even talk about, who is the king, who is the real king? The HR, if the HR goes from the organization, will everything just go psh, or if the employees say they're not doing again, of which we've seen in Nigeria a lot, lots of staff, they go on strike and everything, and when they go on strike, it's like everything is on a halt. There's nothing the management can do. In fact, their money cannot bring the people that go on strike back. That's to tell you how important employees are. Then you now have the guy at the top, the boss. Without a boss in an organization or the management, would the company thrive? Would it thrive? Let me hear you guys comment. What do you think about this? I really, really wish. Yeah, thank you, David, for that reminder. I like that. The HR is an employee as well. Yeah, the HR is an employee as well. Yep. Thank you for that. So that means we have, based on your own perspective now, we have two groups. So instead of having three, you have two. So you have the employees or the management. But don't forget that the HR plays a different role entirely as well between the two. The HR is an intermediary, has to support the employee, has to support the management, has to be on the side of both at the same time. Okay, Esther said everyone has their own part to play. Okay, so you guys are being very diplomatic here. Nobody's actually really stating that somebody is like they believe. But when they ask you guys to talk now as employees in an organization, you will say employees are the kings. Okay, Okpe said she thinks employees are the kings. The management and the HR cannot do everything themselves. Beautiful. Okay, and David's view is that the HR is an employee, the employee is an employee, the management is also part of the employee. We are all important. That's a diplomatic answer. Okay, so I agree with all of your views. Actually don't agree, but I accept them. If you ask me who is the king, I won't say it now. Yeah, it's too early to say it now. I won't say it now. But really, I'm going to dwell on the 2 points that you have given, right? David said everyone is important, and I totally agree, right? Okwe said she thinks the employees are important because her view is that the management and the HRs cannot do everything themselves. Okay, without an employee, I'm not going to answer who is a king, but I'm just going to paint scenarios for you. Without an employee, who is the HRing, if there's such a word? What is the point of the HR being in the organization? What is the person doing there? Without an employee, is there a need for management? Let the boss and the assistant boss or whatever it is, let them be doing the work, like Okpe said, right? Am I wrong? Before I even saw Okpe and David's response, I already said that you people right now, you are all employees in your current place of work, right? And when it's time for your rights to be exercised, your privileges to be given to you, you people definitely throw the bat eye out there and say, you people are not treating us right, this is my right, and all of that. You people are not fair, and so many things, and so many, yeah. Yeah. You guys do that, right? I'm going to say you guys because I don't think there's an HR manager right here on the call. Except maybe Esther, who is currently in that position. So basically, we cannot say who is king because everybody has their views, and I needed to air this out today, right? However, majority of the votes will carry on to vote for the employees, right? So I have an image here, right, that says a lot. So we have a CEO here, and then we have an employee. And the CEO is making a statement here saying, all this talk about civility is interfering with my constitutional right to yell at my co-workers. This is an image by Mike Sharp. So what does this statement tell you of the kind of boss this person is? And trust me, we have many bosses like this, not just in Nigeria, all over the world. Some people are being human because of the rules and the labor laws that exist. Outside those labor laws, oh my God, if they have their way, probably employees will not receive their salaries at all. Maybe for 2 months, 3 months, they will keep owing the staff until they are very comfortable to pay their salaries. Probably staff will not even receive anything like bonuses or incentives or in perks and allowances and all of that. You know, if some bosses have their way, they won't even provide transport allowance. Yeah, they won't do that. In fact, even the HMO you have, if they have a choice, they won't also provide that. It's because of labor laws that compels them to be human in nature. I don't know if I just made some sense right now, because I use this image because it just captures the kind of mindset most Nigerian bosses and even bosses out there internationally, the kind of mindset that they have, you know. So this man here is also saying he has a right to yell at his co-workers. Yes, David, you're very right. If not for labor laws, some things that some shaggies and shenanigans you guys be seeing, even from HRs. Some HRs know that if they behave in a certain manner, they would lose themselves, like the respect, the dignity, everything in the eyes of the employees. So that's why they are compelled to behave human. They are compelled to have sense. Let me use that word. They're compelled to have sense. They're compelled to treat people right. I have experienced, I mean, my HR, my boss that I was working with back then, oh my God, I have seen a lot of shaggy. I've seen how staff are treated, even people that are not even staff yet, that are just coming for interview. I have seen the way they are treated. I have been disgusted by it, and I kept telling myself, when I become an HR manager in future, I do not want to be like this. And I thank God so far, at least the few years that I've been an HR manager, I have not treated people that way. As in, if they bring all the staff that I've been an HR manager over and tell them to talk about me, I do not think that they would say that I've been a wicked HR or I've behaved in the manner that I did not like my previous boss to have behaved in. So yeah, let's look at it. Sometimes people say, put yourself in the shoes of a boss, like if you were to be paying salaries and all. But I always ask a question back. Nobody is forcing you to pay salaries. And when you said you wanted to recruit staff, nobody said you need to employ this person, you need to employ that person. It was an intentional action that the person took or the management took. So they are responsible for the action and the decision that they make. So I did not beg to be employed as an employee. You employed me because you needed me to add value, right? So the same way some bosses also feel like I can sack you at any time or fire you on this job at any point in time. So every single person seems to claim a right. What do we do when everybody is saying, I have a right, I have a right, I have a right? An employee has a right. HR has a right. In fact, let me be honest, as an HR over the years, it seems as if we don't have rights. I wish there were HRs on this call with me at this moment. It seems as if we don't have rights. It's like only the employees have rights and the boss has a right, because the boss can scold you. Employees will also come and complain or probably cry or probably come and grumble about one thing or the other that they're not happy with. So where's my own right now as as an HR manager? Where's my right? Like, it feels as if I do not have a right. So yeah, that's just the, and then I want to go. So like I said, today is an introductory session of this webinar that I'll be holding every week. It's going to be holding every Friday. It's not even up to an hour. 45 minutes, we're done. I don't think I've spent up to 30 minutes here because we didn't even start in time. But I want it to always be a discussion, an interactive session. And thank you so much, David, Okwe, and Esther. You guys have been so great. Though I've not heard any of your voices, but I have read your comments, which shows that you're actually following me, and I'm very grateful for that. So I want to implore us, and I'm still going to bring it up again, right, next week, Friday, that we need to start letting bosses know, employers, the management, HRs even, know that we will soon begin to provide feedbacks to them, possibly even awards, because sometimes these things help them to sit up straight. You know that when it comes to appreciation, sometimes normal human beings like you and I, we tend to reevaluate ourselves and say, why is it that nobody, there was a year in my life I figured out that, why is it that nobody gives me birthday gifts? They just post me on their status and say, a queen was born today. Like my sister-in-law would say, a queen was born today, a gem was born today, oh, you're an amazing person, oh, you're so sweet. How do I know that I'm amazing? Because they're just saying it and you could be lying. But I'm definitely going to be seriously an amazing person if you actually gave me a gift, like you went out of your way, it means that I'm somebody that goes out of my way for you too. So I figured out that probably people were not giving me gifts because I also wasn't doing the same. Like I also would just send prayers and messages to people. So I decided to change. And ever since I changed, I started receiving gifts. Like even though not everything were like tangible gifts, some of them were money. I've had people actually deliver stuff to my house. Last year a cake was delivered to my house very early in the morning. I got a very nice handbag, all those things. I started putting in efforts into doing things extra. So I think sometimes when we do a reevaluation, whether as an employee or as an HR or as part of the management team or a boss, in case you have a system here and you have a business rather, and you have somebody working for you, if you're listening to me, you're a boss, you're probably watching this and you're a boss. Sometimes you need to do a self-evaluation. Tell yourself the truth. Am I being a nice boss? Sometimes it's not really about being a nice boss. If you're professional enough, you will play your part while everybody else is also playing their part. So if you do a self-evaluation, you can tell yourself the truth that, okay, I need to do better here. I need to stop yelling at my staff here. I need to start communicating with them. I need to stop doing some micromanaging. I need to start trusting my staff with the task I've given them, probably give them a deadline, reward people who are doing better, and the ones that are not doing so well, try to see areas that we can help them get better, either by training or, by putting them through, maybe doing a reorientation and making their roles, giving them clarity of their roles again, right? I enjoy doing that, and I always suggest that to any of my bosses I've worked with so far. Let's do a reorientation. Some people have probably forgotten their JD. They've forgotten their roles. So provide some clarity to their roles. Provide some kind of direction to their roles. Remind them of their KPIs, and tell them, oh, there's always a reward for hard work. It might not be even directly in your present place of work, but there's always a reward for hard work. So feedbacks always help. Feedbacks and awards. You see, staff can come together in an organization and say, you know what? Since you guys have a large, that's if you have a large management team, make sure you have a large management team. If you have a company where you're working now, advise your HR or tell your HR that you guys want to give awards, contribute money, do those plank awards, something like this. I have one here, something like this, yeah. Most empathetic boss. You see those ones that are wicked, that always act as if they don't have human feelings. They're gonna sit up. Yeah, let me show you again in case you didn't see it, right? Do award planks. Worst employer of the year. You can't give that award, right? My dad is on the call to support me this afternoon. Thank you so much, Dad, for joining. Even though I know you're very busy, thank you for joining. So you can do. I didn't advise you to go and do worst employer of the year. Oh, don't do that one. Oh, I didn't say it. Oh, I'm just giving an example. But you can do most empathetic boss of the year. Most empathetic leader or manager of the year. You can give awards to your bosses. That helps them to evaluate themselves, the way they treat people in the organization, to also evaluate how they are, what's the word now? How they can balance their emotions as human beings and how they can work on their professionality. Like I've put here, awards will help them to be more intentional. So for a kind of boss that brings the baggages from the house to the organization every day, always frowning, always throwing papers at people, by the time you guys do end of the year award, next year the person will want to collect award now. The person will be wondering that why didn't they give me award? I must have been wicked though. I must have been, what do you call it now? A very unreasonable boss. You can't give the negative awards. You can't say worst employer of the year, worst boss of the year. You can't say worst manager of the year, but you can give the ones that are good. Most understanding HOD. I hope people are writing it down. Most understanding HOD, most empathetic HOD. Yeah, I'm giving you ideas right now that you can actually give such awards in your organization. And if the employees, your colleagues don't want to join you to give it, you can make it a personal thing on your own to just give that person. And just say you like to appreciate the person. Even if it's not an award, you can give them a gift, a very small gift, to say, this is me appreciating you, for, or you can give it to the HR to give the person. Just ensure that the news spreads so that the ones that are not, let me not say good, that are not reasonable will work on themselves. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. So this brings me to the end of today's session, and all of us, actually, not just me, today's session of Kavod weekly webinar. So don't forget, this is going to be happening every Friday, 3 p.m. Here on Zoom, right? It's going to be very short. We're going to be talking about issues, cases. I'm going to be bringing real life case scenarios to you guys. And if I have my way, I'll be bringing people that it has happened to actually share it here. Turn on their video, show their faces, and share whatever it is they are going through in the organization with everyone. I'm also going to be inviting CEOs, MDs, business owners, right? HR managers of organizations to share with us what it is that relates to whatever topic we are looking at that particular week, right? And I'm also going to be, from next week, I'll be sharing the flyer for the following week with you guys to prepare your minds for the topic that we'll be talking about the next week. Of course, we also give room for employees to also air their views so that it's going to be fair and right. So at this point, do I have any questions from any one of us that has been on the call since? I hope you guys will take one. I've taken one thing back today, especially the award part, and then also the aspect of sharing, what's the word now? Feedbacks. Yes, giving feedbacks to your bosses, to your manager. There's a way to give feedback that it doesn't really have to spell your name. Yeah. If you need that kind of idea, I'll give it to you. I have them plenty up here by the grace of God. There's a way to give feedback without spelling out your name, to your boss, to even your fellow colleagues, even to an HR person, right? Lots of HRs now, they are beginning to, like, they're sweeping the rights of employees under the carpets. And if you do not know your rights, like I was talking to one of my friends the other day who recently got a job. He's actually on this call. My friend's on this call. David, let me just, make mention of his name. Congratulations once again, David, on your new job. I remember the HR was actually very upset that he was asking questions just to get clarity. Why should you be upset that somebody wants clarity for a new job they're about to transition into? You shouldn't be upset except you have some things to hide. There's nothing to hide. Answer the questions. They're asking you questions about HMO, questions about transport allowance, questions about things that are basically their rights and they've been enjoying before. I mean, nobody wants to jump from fry pan to fire now. We all want to go into better, right? And they say the grass is not always greener at the other side. So it's better you find out first how, even if it's not greener, how green is it? I can still manage. Ask your, necessary questions as much as possible. I'm going to be giving a tip, an HR tip, as an HR manager for a few years now. I'm going to be giving tips that can help you as an employee, right? And also as an HR manager and also as a boss. I'm giving one tip now as an employee, right? Ask questions. Ask about how many leave days you have, how many leave days you're entitled to, right? When would the leave application be closed for the year? Ask that one, not the one that you now want to go for it in November. They'll say it as closed because it's nearer to December and all of that. Ask questions. That's my tip for the employees, right? David said, what about when the HR does not want to answer your questions? Don't worry. You ask again. You say, I'm sorry for any inconveniences, but I really need this question answered. Or is there someone else I can go to in the organization to ask and get answers from? When you say that one, they'll be afraid because you can reach people now on social media, on LinkedIn especially. So tell them, is there someone else that I should be asking instead of you? I believe you are the best person in the position to answer my question. Right, I think I've answered you, David. So my tip for HR managers, because I'm going to be uploading this video on YouTube so people can still see it. My tip for HR managers is to try and be a human. Try and be human, try and be empathetic, and try not to rob people of their rights. That's my tip for HR managers right? Or anybody in the HR sector. Esther, I know you're an HR person, right? As much as the management is frustrating you, don't ever transfer that frustration to other staff, right? Then my tips for bosses before we go off today is to also try and be human, and do not see your staff as people that you are paying to do the work, and so they must do the work. So staff are not slaves, they are assets in human bodies who sometimes might have a relapse and will need to rest or need to have a few conversations to help them what's the word now, relax, or to help them feel better, to help them feel valued, right? So yeah, that's a tip. Okay, my dad wants to say something very quickly. We have about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Okay, Dad, over to you, sir.
Not really. Go ahead. Not really. Sorry.
Okay, sir. All right. I was thinking Dad wanted to share a tip with us, or at least even if it's for the bosses. Okay, maybe next time I'll tell him to come up and share a tip with us, even if it's just for a minute. All right, thank you so much, guys. I hope you have taken something away today as an employee, as an HR, as a boss in your various organizations. See you next week, Friday, same time, same place on Zoom. Have a lovely rest of the weekend. All right, bye, guys.